So here we are. We're going to talk a little Star Wars. I think the best way to do this right now is for maybe you to ask me, because you've already seen Star Wars. I just saw it, Force Awakens. Not the first one. People would be like, what? Why is it so late? But, like, ask me about something, and then I can tell you what I thought of it. Or maybe you could start off by being like, I liked this. Did you like this? So,
what do you think of Ben's stupid face?
Ben's stupid face! All right. I shouldn't start off with this, but my mom said the greatest thing when it was over. She's like, I don't know about the casting choice for that. I think he was casting correctly. And all I could think was, yes, you are correct. What were they thinking? I was like, okay, his hair is kind of like Anakin, but the rest of him looks like a Snape knockoff.
It looked like Snape. That's all I could think too.
And the other great thing about it was, all I could think of after that was, just put the mask back on. Put it back on. You know what I mean? Like,
I think they showed you his face way too early. They should have left it on until it had the showdown between him and Solo.
Yeah, that would have been sweet. I think they really should have waited and then done that, because it's nice.
My son's face. Han Solo said, "Take that mask off. I want to see my son's face."
That would have been sweet. It would have been even better if they kind of left that a mystery the whole time, and at the very end kind of revealed that thing. Like, maybe hinted at it here and there. But we kind of knew pretty early on that was Han and Leia's son.
Oh, I told Heidi. Yeah, I agree with you. But I told Heidi before we even went to the movie, I was like, I bet you that the bad guy's going to be their kid.
Yeah, I thought that might happen just because I know, again, this is Disney pulling from Expanded Universe stuff, but I'm pretty sure. And I don't know if his name was Ben. I think it used to be like Jason or something. Yeah. But on this, yeah. So they changed that up a little. But anyway, really, the thing that I liked a lot about him at first was he kind of had that enigmatic kind of Darth Maul feel, where you're like, oh, this is the new bad guy. He's quite powerful. He's doing things we haven't seen before. He did this kind of like force freeze on people and blasters, which was pretty new, or blaster fire. And it was like, okay, this guy's sweet. And then I saw his face way too much. I just want to put the mask back on. If you're gonna have your villain be unmasked, it should be like a really big, dramatic thing. And for him to just look like that, and it's not a gripe towards this person's face per se, but it just for Star Wars, like when Vader takes off his mask at the end of Return of the Jedi, it's a pretty big deal, because we've always been hinted at it, but then we never saw it, and then we finally saw it, and it's like, oh man, he's pretty messed up. But this guy is just a normal dude. It's like, why are you wearing a mask? Like, it's just like to be scary. You want to be Darth Vader, basically. But yeah. It's just not... Man, really was hurt by that. Was really hurt by that. But he's still pretty cool. I was really hoping that we wouldn't see his face at all, and he'd have this cool redemption arc, and then maybe, like, at certain moments he'd take the mask off. But now he's got a big old slash in his face. Spoilers! It's a little late for that. But anyway, all right, next question.
How about the fact that it was like a carbon copy of A New Hope?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. So while I was watching it, that's definitely the feeling I got too. It was very much just following the exact same format, not to the letter. They did a few different things here and there, but it did feel very much like A New Hope. Like they just got the old script out. And I was thinking at first I was really angry about it, but the thing I thought after that was, this is what they needed to do to kind of get their old fans back. It was kind of not reboot the franchise, but to continue it and then just say like, hey, this is the stuff that worked before, and we're going to do it again in a different, bigger version and get new people in on it. Old people will love it a lot, and this is just the easiest way to do it.
And it is a nod to the old classic. I get that.
Yeah. I hear you over there clicking away. I said undivided, Leo.
It is undivided.
It's not undivided. Stop harvesting. Anyway, but yeah, so it's basically New Hope, with just bigger things. Good question.
What do you feel about Rey being super powerful?
I thought, to be completely, utterly honest with you, I was really happy about it. She did move a little fast with her powers and stuff, but I almost brought a tear to my eye. And this might sound really strange and stupid, but they finally had a main female protagonist in a Star Wars film, period. And then she got to use the lightsaber, which I thought at first she wasn't going to. Like in that last fight when she got knocked out, I was like, oh man, they're missing out on a great opportunity here. And I was really happy that she was like a strong like character, because early on there's like Finn's running to her, he's like, oh hey, like what are you doing? And then she like completely takes care of herself. And there's a lot of other moments where they kind of show that like just because you're a female in this world does not mean by any means that you're weak, because most of the females we see are pretty strong. And she's like the strongest.
Princess Leia Organa became general.
Yeah, she's not a princess anymore. When you blow up your planet, when someone blows up your planet, you're no longer the princess. They're like, yep, nope. But that was cool. But yeah, there's one thing that bothered me when she was fighting Kylo, which I'm just gonna call him that. And he says like, I could teach you how to use the Force, and then she starts talking about the Force and thinking about it. I thought she was gonna like blast him away with a Force push, which I thought would have been perfect. But instead, she just started fighting him with a lightsaber, but better, which made no sense to me.
Well, because that's what makes the Force is what makes Jedi such good combatants with a lightsaber.
I know, but like, it really, if she's gonna talk about the Force, I think the best physical manifestation of it is like to legitimately move objects. And I think a lot of that too is like they never expressly say like, oh, you can only use a lightsaber, because clearly we've seen other people use lightsabers now. We've seen Finn use one pretty well against another Force user, and he did kind of well. Like, you think he'd be able to be destroyed immediately by this guy, but clearly not the case. But the lightsabers, there was a weird thing I thought with Kylo's his lightsaber. Maybe you saw it too. What's up with the stability of that lightsaber? And then even Luke's seemed a little like it was like a new design choice where it's like all crackly and like weird. I was like,
yeah, they made him like sputter off like plasma and stuff almost.
Yeah, it was weird.
And first his, I thought, because it's not a proper lightsaber, that it's like unstable.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I explained that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed like when they fought, it wasn't like a clean like bouncing light. It was more like plasma. Like it reminded me a lot of the Ghostbusters Ghost Ray, like the plasma that spews off.
Oh yeah, that or like the kind of the Harry Potter beam battles that they have a lot.
A lot like that.
Yeah. And they kind of like it didn't sputter like a lot, like as much as that at all, but it was still like when his was going, I was like, okay, it seems like an unstable one, which reminded me of like Force Unleashed, where you can like put like different crystals on it and it like does different things. But they never. I thought it was just a really interesting choice. But yeah, that was weird. One thing that I will say that was a big plus for this movie that some of the other ones, even the originals, don't have as much. A lot of laugh out loud moments. A lot of that J.J. Abrams, I feel like, kind of comedy came in there.
Oh, the head nod thing with Han Solo and Finn, I thought was hysterical.
Oh, yeah, you like that? He's like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your face? Like, what is that?
Like, what is this? What are you doing? What is this?
I thought one that I really enjoyed was when Finn was talking to BB-8, and he was kind of like, all right, like, I'm going to let you in on a secret. I'm not part of the Resistance. And he's like, but you gotta be on my side. I can help you, blah, blah, blah. And so they're like, he kind of works out a deal with them, and he gives them the thumbs up. BB-8 like puts his little robot arm, puts like a little flamethrower thing up, just like, like, yeah, he's like, there you go. There was a lot of great moments, and I really appreciated that, because that's a good thing to have in your movies. There's a lot of good comedy. Even when you rewatch it, you can be like, oh, that's like, you can still kind of chuckle at it. But there's some good laugh out loud moments. Another one that I really appreciated was a classic stormtrooper type thing. Kylo Ren, which I appreciated, he would just freak out sometimes, and he wouldn't kill people. He would just like take it out on like the tech nearby. He'd just like slash a wall. And then like there's one time he's doing that, or he cuts down because Rey was in that like holding chair, and she's gone. She got out. And he like cuts it down. He starts like slashing. You see two stormtroopers down the hallway, like kind of walking that way, and they hear all this commotion. There's like sparks coming out of the room, and they just kind of like slowly back up and turn around and walk away. Just like, nope, not dealing with that. Like, no thanks, man. So, yeah, man, a lot of good comedy. So I was happy to see that return. The one thing that was big for me that they didn't really do a lot of, which I was sad. Maybe they'll get into this more. And they were all kind of newbies a little bit, or young people. But they didn't really do a really sweet lightsaber fight. And I know that's probably not something that's on the top of the list for everybody, but that's one thing the prequels have always had, just because technically they were later on and they could do more with that. But with this one, they kind of, it was almost like each person had like a baseball bat. Like there wasn't a lot of finesse going on. And maybe like Kylo Ren never learned like really good sword fighting, but Luke at the end in Return of the Jedi, he's pretty proficient. So you think that at some time he would have taught him, something. But it was kind of like not the lightsaber fights were not that great. There's only like kind of 1-2-ish, if you will, like 1.5 that happened near the end. But yeah, besides that, I don't know. It's hard to judge it because it does feel like a rehash, and it's weird to see these new characters where I'm just like, oh, you're like new Han Solo, and then you see like Han Solo for a while, and you're like, oh, you're both here, you know? Like he never met that. I think his name's Poe something, the pilot, who I really liked. I thought he was kind of cool. He was like the new.
He was a good like character. Like he played his role well.
Yeah, I thought he earned that one. It was weird because you might have seen this too, but Parkman from Heroes is one of the rebel pilots, the resistant pilots.
Yep.
Which I was right away. I was like, yep, there he is. I couldn't get away from that. Sometimes when I see an actor or an actress that I've seen something else, it's hard to get away from. I was very happy. They didn't say him by name, but Admiral frickin' Akbar was there.
Yep, he was just hanging out, but they didn't say anything. They didn't do his name. Like I heard several people in the theater whisper, "It's a trap."
Yeah, exactly. And they say Admiral at one point, but then they cut to another guy, like some Asian dude. So I was like, did he like get promoted or did he get demoted or is he just like chilling out and he's like, I'm here to like help you? And I thought that was cool.
He got promoted.
Yeah, I'm sure. He was part of the. He's a big thing. He's Admiral Akbar. It would have been really like, what if that all happened and like they cut back to him like while all the resistance like the X-wings are going in, blah blah blah, they're shooting stuff, and he just like whispers to himself. He's like, "It's a trap," like, you know, and just shakes his head. Everyone would have died of laughter because there's a few moments in this movie because there's so much comedy that you might not laugh or maybe you're not supposed to laugh, but then they reinforce you. I'm trying to remember. There's like one scene where it seems very serious, and then at the very end they do something that's kind of like tongue-in-cheeky or just kind of like a little slapsticky. And I was like, okay, good. Because like if we weren't supposed to laugh at that. Oh, my sister was laughing so hard, I believe, at those weird monsters that were latched onto the Millennium Falcon, or that one that hops on there. And
like sucking at the window.
Yeah, it's like it's like whoa, gosh, like what is this weird monstrosity? She was just cackling, which was pretty good. That was kind of weird. I didn't like Han Solo's just on a freighter. He's just hanging out with Chewie. They're just trying to make money. They don't need to do anything else. But yeah. But anyway, so that was good. Well, next question.
What do you think about Rey's mysterious past?
I've heard like some rumors, you know, here and there. And my mom, again, this sounds really weird, but I, you know, because I was with my family when I saw this, but she was saying, I was like, oh, maybe that's like Luke's daughter. And I was thinking, like, yeah, but why would he leave her on a planet? And obviously these are the questions they want us to be asking everybody. Yeah. I've heard rumor, and I've only seen a title for this. I didn't watch anything. One was like, oh, maybe it's like Obi's daughter, like Obi-Wan's daughter somehow. The problem with both of those cases is like they're going to have to do some really weird explaining where they're like, oh yeah, well, they fell in love and they had a kid and then they dropped her off. And like that's like a lot of a movie you have to explain, you know, to do that. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll do it really well. Maybe, and I think the best case scenario would be that it's Luke's daughter, because you do Obi and then you're gonna have to like maybe you shoot some old stuff with Ewan McGregor, you know, or you just don't do that and you just explain it all. Either way, I think I don't know. She's gotta have a connection. Huh?
Want to hear my theory?
I want to hear your theory, man.
I think it's Han and Leia's daughter.
Okay.
And she's so gifted with the Force. It's why Kylo Ren got seduced to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, like, he wanted to be more powerful, but his sister was just naturally powerful.
Okay.
So, when he went crazy and killed everybody and blah, 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 Luke put her on Jakku and erased everyone's memories that she existed to protect her.
Okay.
That's what I think. Because, like, they make her have that strong connection with Han right away.
Yeah.
And everything. So I'm like, if she's not related to him in some way, I think that was really stupid.
Okay.
To do, you know, and that was just like, it was kind of a douche move on the writers' parts, because it's like, we want everybody to think this, but it actually has nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's pretty far-fetched, even though you're probably going to be right on it. I think that if they did that, that would be really mean. Like Luke obviously wants to protect her, maybe, or whatever. But, like, to legitimately erase and, like, I don't know, can Jedi, I mean, they can do a lot of stuff. And now in this one, we found that they can kind of like pull memories and like learn them, but not like delete them. But that would be kind of.
They could do the Jedi mind trick of, you want to give me all your money, I want to give you all my money.
Yeah, exactly.
Why couldn't they essentially be like, you don't remember this person, I don't remember this person?
He'd have to really like erase a lot of minds. You know what I mean? Because like she's the general, like General Leia would be the one who'd have her. So like she'd be pregnant for quite a while, and you think she'd be telling people, like it wouldn't be a secret. I don't know if Kylo is necessarily a secret. Maybe he is in some ways, or maybe they knew he grew up, and then they're like, oh yeah, Kylo Ren killed our son, and it was really unfortunate. You know what I mean? Kind of like a Darth Vader situation. I don't know. It'll be something crazy like that. I would almost prefer it to be none of that, and it would just be like, oh, she got abandoned by her parents. Like some parents suck, you know what I mean, or something like that, where it's like no connection at all, but she's got a strong connection to the Force, and she's looking for this family. And I just think it would be kind of horrible to think that she like met her mom and her dad, and like Luke like straight up erased their memories. That would be so like that'd be mean. And then, man, if Luke could do that though, he could take over the entire galaxy. And by that I mean not even that, like him take it over, but like he could stop everyone. He'd be like, oh yeah, you don't want to do this. Like you've never had the want to do this. You've never wanted to be bad. You know? I don't know. It's intense. But anyway, next question.
I don't know. You tell me something. I'm kind of asking the big ones.
I know, and I can hear the buttons clicking over there. I said I wanted unfettered access. Just stop making guns for 1 minute, or 10, or something. Talk to me. Just talk to me. Anyway.
I am. I've asked you all the questions that I think about.
I hear the clacking over there. He just can't let it go. I don't even know if he stopped when I left. Let's keep going down the list here. Captain Phasma, not a lot to go off there. She's just this stormtrooper in a silver stormtrooper outfit. Doesn't really do anything.
I thought they were gonna make her more badass, but they just literally that's all she was.
Yeah, she's nothing.
You didn't see her in action once. Actually, you saw her be a little.
Yeah, she did get kind of messed up. Or not messed up. She just got like held at gunpoint. There was a really great. Speaking of cool moments, Han shooting, not looking, and like dropping a stormtrooper. That was great. Yeah. I thought that was pretty excellent. And I like how he finally uses the Wookiee bowcaster, and he's like, "This thing's friggin' great." And he's like, "Why haven't I used it?"
He's like, I want one of those.
Yeah, he's like, "I like this thing." It's like, yeah, man, that thing, he's just putting people down. That was great. Trying to think of other really cool moments. Poe going in and like blowing stuff up. Again, very Death Star like. They finally started using a sun though, which is good because these are the Star Wars, and they've never really used like a star before. They had the Death Star, I guess, but more like a moon. And clearly at that point when they were like judging, like this is what the Death Star was, like this is what this thing is. And I was like, okay, I get it. It's like this is what the old movies were like, and this is the new movie. You know, like we're bigger and better, and it's crazy. I do appreciate the organic locations. I feel like there's a lot of on-set stuff. That's one big problem with the prequels, that you never really feel like they're anywhere else besides like a green screen or like a sound stage. Where these ones, like especially that shot at the end, that cool not panoramic, but kind of that shot where they're like swooping around those two was very neat. I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. Like they're like shooting on location somewhere, you know.
Which I'm trying to think is which scene you're talking about there.
Where Rey goes up to Luke and she's holding the lightsaber out to him.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it would have been cool if he would have lifted up his metal hand and just like brought it to him and turned it on, and then they just cut, you know, or something. But this will lead into something. I thought they were going to end not with that, but with more of the Kylo Ren stuff, because he was quite a big character. And Snoke. Okay, let's talk about Snoke, because this is a big problem I have with the movie. First off, I'm not sure how I feel about holograms being like legitimate now, like really good. I miss the old blue like hazy ones, because when they showed him at first, I was like, man.
I thought that's how big he was. I was kind of pissed.
I was too. And we still, he might be. And you know, he probably isn't. But then they shut it off.
He hopes he's that big, and I was like, Ian, you're the worst.
Ian's, yeah, don't listen to him. But when they turned it off, I'm like, okay, so it's just a hologram. A really convincingly great hologram.
Yeah.
But I want to know his backstory too, because like if the Emperor's doing all that stuff back in the day, and this guy came to power, I don't know how we're gonna need.
It bugged me that he just came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it wasn't like. And obviously, when they made 4, 5, and 6, they weren't thinking like, oh, like what would 7 be? Like, does Emperor Palpatine have like another like kind of Padawan or like Sith? apprentice out there somewhere. And
Yeah,
I was
like another Inquisitor rather than a Juggernaut.
yeah. Plus, I also thought that at the end he's like, oh, he's got to come back and finish his training. I thought that was Sith code for he's got to come back and kill me and then be like elevated to supreme Darth status. You know, to be like
Masters never want to die.
They don't want to die, but some of them, I think some of them, that's, going in, that's typically how it ends, you know?
Yeah, like if you have a really powerful apprentice, you got to be aware that one day he's probably going to kill you.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that, that's just going to be, that's something that they know will happen. So that's why, that's just in me, I was like, what else do you have to teach him? Because clearly, your Force stuff's good.
Because he's not a Sith. Kylo Ren.
Yeah, he's not a Sith.
He's a Knight of Ren.
He's a Knight of Ren, but he made up the Knights of Ren or whatever. So it's like
that's what I'm saying. Like, so he needs to complete his training so that he can be on par with like a Jedi. I think is what their thought is.
Yeah, that's probably it. And we're probably going to get here in these next 2 and 3, or I should say 8 and 9, is that we're going to see this kind of parallel between both Kylo Ren and Rey, and just kind of like going through their training, and they'll just keep meeting up and meeting up and meeting up. Whereas, like, Luke versus Vader was always kind of one-sided until the last one. This is going to be very much more, like, on par together. Like, oh, you've gotten stronger since last time. It'd be like, yeah, I've been training a lot. Kind of like a Count Dooku type thing. A little more, maybe.
That's why I think it'd be more for that connection if they're...
Whoa. Hold on a sec. You got really bad there for a second. Hold on. Say that again.
I said, and that's why I think it'd be more intense for them to be brother and sister. Otherwise, it's like they're just two randos who are training. And it's like if you make them like, you always have the father and son bond with Vader and Luke.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I think they're brother and sister.
And they probably are. I just don't want to get like some BS reason. Like, the one you came up with probably will still work, but it still would bother me a lot if it was something like that. And then he came back. He's like, I couldn't face you guys because I erased your memories. It's like,
he failed their son and then had to like erase their daughter. Like,
yeah. I don't know what's going on over there, man. Your internet's getting worse or something. You're getting garbled on me. It's all that arc.
Dude, I'm not doing anything. Literally, I'm sitting here looking at my computer.
I'm just giving you crap. I don't know why it's getting all garbled. But yeah, it'll probably be something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of time in there in between where they could make something up. Because there's a substantial amount of time, if we go chronologically from like when, like how old they look, obviously there's 40 years in our world. That doesn't necessarily mean there'll be 40 in Star Wars, but at the same time, they would need a lot of time for someone like Snoke and everyone and like these kids to grow up. Because obviously, Kylo is not like a 5-year-old. So kind of judging off him, maybe like 20 to 30 years have passed since Return of the Jedi, maybe.
I would say he's at his oldest in his mid-20s.
Maybe. I don't know. That face, I don't know. Like, it's confusing to me.
I don't think Han and Leia had kids, like, right away. You know what I mean?
When the Death Star went down, when the Empire went down, man, just crazy stuff. Like, they were just elation. You can't control that. You can't put a lid on that. Those Ewoks, man. I don't know what that means. But, yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes. I thought it was good. Did feel like a rehash. I don't know. It's hard to say like, oh, I give it this out of this, because it's not fair to do that right now. I'll have to see it a little bit more. There's something else that kind of bothered me besides okay. So there was the rehashing and everything. Oh, this is another thing. It really just bugs me just in general. Why? Oh, why? And they'll probably explain this. Why does Jakku exist? Why are we focusing on another desert planet? Like, is it just to, like, trick people? Like, to being like, oh, it's like the same, like, A New Hope all over again, but it's on a different desert planet in the beginning, and this is where we find our main protagonist. Like, it just really bothered me. Out of all the locations in all the galaxy, we're going back to desert. Again. Like...
And it's not the desert planet that we like.
Exactly. We're not going to go to the cantina and stuff, which they probably like, that would be too much of a rehash. But then it's like, okay, we have this new cantina on like the ripoff of Yavin 4 that we're hanging out in, which I did like that lady, the Maz lady. She was kind of cool. She had like an Edna Mode feel to her from Incredibles.
Yeah.
They're, again, when she's like, they're like, oh, how'd you get this lightsaber? She's like, that is a story for another time, which all that screams to me, and this does kind of bother me. is like, this movie's not a standalone, which it's not. But I wish more movies that could be like this were,
Or it just makes me think, we haven't quite figured that out yet, and we're hoping people will forget about this by the time the next movie comes out.
Yeah, maybe. They probably have it all mapped out. But it does kind of bug me because, like, clearly it was like, oh, we don't have enough time to explain this. And this movie, it did feel pretty long. I was happy about that because I kept thinking, oh, maybe they're going to cut it here at this battle or cut it here. I don't know. It was intense. There's a lot going on in this movie. Definitely a lot of more practical effects, which I appreciated, but there's still a plethora of CGI for sure. And that's what was like obviously they can't do like the big space battles. They've always kind of done it that way. Even in the older ones, it was a little more practical back then. But when the monsters, like there'd be a monster once in a while, like those things on Han's ship look so fake. And by the way, missed opportunity. Han should have shot one of those smugglers first. I thought for sure he was gonna pull out his pistol and shoot one of the gangs of smugglers, and then they're gonna be running down a hallway where Chewie would be like, "Arr!" And then Han would be like, "I always shoot first." You know what I mean? Like something like that, just to kind of drive that home.
Yeah.
I was like, if you would have had two blasters, it would have been even better. If you would have just like boom boom, that would have been great. But it got like an alien vibe for a little bit there. You know, when they're like running down those hallways and like those aliens are all over. I was like, is this like Ridley Scott's Alien? Like, what are you watching?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one thing. I'm just bouncing all over the place, but one thing I did appreciate, but it made her even more overpowered, is that Rey is kind of like if you took Luke and Obi-Wan and Han and like smashed it into one person, because she's like, she's learning obviously, but she does like the Jedi mind trick stuff, but she also knows like ships really well, like incredibly well, like just as much as Han Solo, which I was like, well, okay. Which is cool because I didn't want them to be like, oh, she can just be like the kind of regular gender role of just like, oh, watch out, Han. Like she was doing stuff. Like Finn was getting saved more often than not. What did you think of Finn?
I liked him. I thought he did a good job fulfilling his role.
Yeah.
Like, he's not. That's the thing. Is like, he's not the hero. Like, I think Rey is supposed to be the hero.
Yeah.
But he's still a hero in a sense of, like, he'll stand up, he'll do things, even though he's not really anything special.
Yeah.
Like, he's just another soldier.
Yeah, that's true. And even at one point he said, I'm not the hero. And clearly all of the things he did, he only did really for her. He was like, I'm just going to save you. And then at the end it was kind of unfortunate where she's like, I'll see you again, my friend. It would have been kind of great if he would have been like, faking his coma or whatever, and he would have been like, dang it. Like, because at one point he's like, do you have a boyfriend? Do you have a cute boyfriend? Yeah. It's like, they kind of have a romance, but I don't know, where Rey's got so many options now. She's got all these force powers and stuff. She'd be like, you will be my boyfriend. You will be my boyfriend. She was very Keira Knightley to me. She felt like a lot like Keira Knightley.
I thought she was way better than Keira.
But way better. But I just mean like the way she sounded, and she looks a little bit like her. So when she was like running around doing stuff, it reminded me a little bit of Keira Knightley from Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Just a little bit.
I guess I could see.
It's not a bad thing by any means.
No. I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of her in that movie.
Yeah.
The first movie she was okay, but then.
Oh man, and 2 and 3. That's like, we could talk about that another time. But those two, they're a cluster. At least on Stranger Tides was a little bit better for me. They did a lot better focusing up and stuff like that, and they were just in the third Pirates, and I hope this doesn't happen with Star Wars too, but there was just too much going on. There was like so many people. They introduced so many new characters. Like all the pirates were introduced, like every pirate around the world, and then you're like, okay, what? Like, and they're all just like really weird, like ethnic stereotypes of who they were, and it was very strange. But hopefully that doesn't happen here. They did have some good aliens in this one, some good practical effect aliens, I will say, though, like as far as what we would consider aliens, like working with people. There was like one like X-Wing pilot who happened to not be a human, and there was a few people like working, like Admiral Akbar and stuff like that. And there was even one working for the Republic who was about to get like blasted away by the super duper Death Star, like Pentastar, whatever you want to call it. That it's like, you can destroy one planet, we can destroy 5. Like, which
like they destroyed an entire quadrant or whatever, however they measure things.
yeah, which I think would have held a lot more if we hadn't, like, way back in the day seen the Death Star destroy one planet, because this one, destroyed 5, and it was like destructive and kind of beautiful, but very, just like, oh, look at this, is so sad, we should be sad. But we didn't know anybody on all those planets. All it did was establish the fact that it's like, all right, the Resistance is basically the rebels again. We don't have like a government to help fight for them because they're all dead.
Because they just destroyed them, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know where, they were kind of aiming next, and they were like drawing more power from that sun, which hopefully recharges after each shot, because it's like, because you can't really move on to the next one because you're a planet. I thought at first it was like, oh, it's like a ship. No, it's like in the planet. So I thought they were using the planet's core to fire the thing.
That's what I thought too.
But then it was like, oh no, we just magically they're like drawing the sun like flames down to the surface. I was like, oh wow, like you think with that technology, you guys would have a pretty strong advantage, which I guess they did for a bit. I just hope we don't in episode 9 see the it shoots out 10 lasers, like a new version of that there's like, well, we're rebuilding it again. It's like, how many planets are you going to destroy, I think you could probably wipe out the Republic in a better way than destroying all your property. Like,
don't you want to rule those planets? Like, you're kind of being counterproductive here.
Yeah, plus you think destroying those types of things would have some pretty big ramifications, like gravity-wise, in certain quadrants. So if you like destroy one thing or multiple things, you might be like screwing up your galaxy. I don't know. I'm not an astrophysicist. But I'll tell you what I am. Someone who loves Star Wars. And this was pretty good for a Star Wars film. It did have a lot more heart in it, and a lot more things than the prequels did not have. Really depressed that we didn't get the big reveal of the Sith duo that is so desperately needed. Darth Maul and Jar Jar Binks. I think that would have made for the biggest twist and possibly the most outrage in any Star Wars film if Darth Maul showed up on the scene and then, like, out of a ship after cutting some people down, and he'd be like, the way is safe for you, my master. And, like, some cloaked individual would, like, walk down in that kind of that Jar Jar lull. And then, like, he would be like, Misa gonna take over the galaxy. I would have lost it. I would have been like, yes.
Speak when spoken to.
Yeah, he just slaps Maul, and Maul goes like 40 feet. Oh my gosh.
Part of me thinks that would have been phenomenal.
Yeah, or like he just cuts the accent altogether, and he's just like, you fool. Only talk back when I allow you to, and be like, yes, I'm sorry, master. Like, but that's never gonna happen. I do hope Darth Maul does come back, or they explain something, or do something with him eventually, because he's technically still at large, in the galaxy, which is cool. It would be fun to see him back. I just don't know, unless they up their lightsaber game, it would be really hard to introduce him right now, because he would probably run somebody over unless they had really good force powers. Like, unless they could like force push him away real well. Like, no one's gonna stand a chance against him. Like Ren kind of swung his saber and he spun it around a little bit. I was like, okay, that's kind of cute, but there wasn't a lot of acrobatic fighting.
Yeah, like he didn't really seem like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, nobody did. That's why.
This automatically kills people, so I don't need to train.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, you probably should. It's like, I feel like Finn was kind of on par with you, pal. I mean, yeah, you got the cheap little hilt thing.
Which, in actuality, all you need to do is slide down. With the way they had that designed.
Yeah.
You just have to slide down and you slice that little thing right off.
Yeah, but the laser's still going through there, so like there's probably still laser like lightsaber going through, so it would block. I think it's more of just like your guard for you kind of thing, like if you're using it. Because then if they cut that off and you swung your hand up too far, you'd be like, ah, it hurts. Like
that's true.
This is a dangerous design. No matter which way you swing it, it's a dangerous weapon. I just like the fact that it kind of looked a little more sword-like. I was like, okay, that's cool. But they really backpedaled on the sword tip and the look of it from like Revenge of the Sith, which I think was like the best lightsabers. Like those looked legitimate. They had that nice like hum to them. They weren't like freaking out. But again, they'll probably explain it. They'll be like, oh yeah, Kylo Ren's, he's got a synthetic one, but it's all janked up. But I don't know. Unless you're going to Ilum to get some more crystals, which I don't even know if that place is still around. Might be destroyed. You think that'd be like the first place you'd blow up with your super Death Star? You'd find out like all the Jedi hangouts. You'd be like, oh, aim the Penta Death Star at those places. Just blow them all up.
Isn't that what they were trying to do? Is like find and destroy the Jedi homeworld? Isn't that what Snork was talking about?
I only laugh because it'd be funnier if they called him Snork, because like, or they like, what's the name of Snark? That's what I'm thinking. Or Snarf. I'm thinking of Thundercats.
Yeah.
Emperor Snarf. He's like, ah! Snarf. At first, I think they might have been looking for that, but I know the first one was like they were knocking out those like Republic senators or whatever, you know.
Oh, okay.
And that's why they showed them having like a big party. There were a few times it did feel Star Trek-ish. I could feel those J.J. Abrams isms coming in. Like, one thing he really likes to do is like when there's like a big chase or like something crazy is happening, it's like a wide shot, and then he zooms in and then kind of moves the camera around. It's a very small thing, but a lot of that, which they didn't do a lot of like hallway running at an angle. They did a lot of hallway running, but one thing he's been notorious for in like Star Trek is showing someone running down a hallway at like a side angle and then like panning over them as they run through, which I was waiting for that, or a bunch of lens flares, and thankfully he didn't do too much.
I saw a few lens flares.
There probably were more. When I rewatch, I'll be like, oh yeah. But he did a great job. I think having all the pressure on the world and making this is not easy by any means, but I really appreciate a lot of the things he did. I think as much creative control that he had, which he probably didn't have way too much, because I'm sure Disney was like always over his shoulder in one way or the other, and they're like, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You're not going to do that. But he did a great job. I really appreciate the fact that they made a strong female protagonist who isn't Ahsoka Tano in this world, because honestly, the only Jedi we've seen, like female Jedi with lightsabers, have been like downed pretty quickly, and we haven't really seen, like, that's one thing that the prequels were kind of missing. They had Padme, she's not a Jedi, but that would have been kind of nice to have a little more variation, because they're like, our prequels were like 2 white guys, like, that's it. Like, we never we never follow a female human or even like an alien. There's so many cool alien races that we kind of get little glimpses of, but we never get to see too much of. I guess Yoda is one of our biggest ones, who I told my family, because one of them, Matt, was confused at first. We're going through, he's like, all right, who's dead, who's not dead? And I was like, oh, like Darth Vader's already died. And he's like, all right, where's Yoda? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, he's dead. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, he died. And he's like, oh, thank you. I'm glad I asked, because I would have gotten out of the theater and been like, where's Yoda? I'm like, dude, he like evaporated,
He died a long time ago.
He did, but if you didn't, my brother-in-law, not a big fan of Star Wars. I don't know if he's seen all 4, 5, and 6 all the way through, but my sister was recounting the first thing he did when it was over, because she looked over at him and said, and this is her husband, he says, like, what'd you think of the movie? And he looks at her, puts his thumb down, and makes like a frown face. I was like, what a great, like, not a word. I was like, it would be so great if he was like a reviewer and they're like, all right, Matt, out of 10, what do you give it? He just does like the thumbs down. It's like, whoa, okay. Like, I feel like that says so much more. And he's, again, not a Star Wars fan, was just there for his wife, his family, to see it, and probably liked the action a little bit, but definitely has some interesting things to say. And I would love to hear his point of view, because if he thinks about it for a while, he'll definitely come up with some great, like, weird things that he'll be like, I was really not okay with this. And I'll be like, oh, that's an interesting choice, my friend. To be like, you didn't like her shoes that she was wearing? I don't blame you.
Here's my thing. I liked it. Would I ever have to see it again? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm already set to see it at least one more time. It's not, like, after seeing it, and I will say that I was like freaking out, like, at the beginning, when like they crank out the music, which definitely there was a new score and they were redoing stuff because it wasn't the recycled stuff. Obviously that main song is the same, but they re-recorded it. But I was so amped, like ready to see this. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this so much. And then, after seeing it, and maybe it's just because I just saw it, I wasn't like, all right, I'll just watch it again. Like, I'm okay, like, waiting a few days, going to see it again, and saying like, all right, I got Force Awakens, I've seen it. I don't need to like run out and be like, let's watch this like 8 times, So Great movie. There's a few things that have bugged me. One other thing that my brother-in-law brought up, and that it bothers me too. They'll probably explain it again in the next movie, but we'll say it's a standalone. R2-D2 wakes up inexplicably at the end of the movie. Why?
Some people said that's more reason to believe that Rey is Luke's daughter.
Okay.
Because, like, the connection that R2 and Luke have, and then
his
daughter's finally around him, and he just wakes up.
Yeah.
But, I really think R2, he's always been, like, a rebel droid. He doesn't do what he's told, necessarily.
I guess, yeah.
So I think he's just kind of like, oh, it's time for me to wake up. Like, it's time.
Yeah. And, okay, but...
and I think that's another reason why I think Luke had to do with Rey being where she was.
Okay.
Because once she got to R2, he's like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to bring Rey to Master Luke.
Yeah. One thing that bothers me about that, though, is that if you have an R2 unit that's, like, hanging out in your rebel base, and you think it could help you find Luke Skywalker, no one tried, or as they've never talked about, someone saying, like, yeah, I tried to break into him a while ago, but, like, he's got these things that I can't, it makes it impossible. Because, like, I'd be the first resistance fighter over there with a screwdriver saying, let's open this droid and get the map to Luke Skywalker. I'd be like, open him up. Like, he's not indestructible. Like, if you think he's got something, you could probably get out the map, because we've been shown now that maps can be, like, on little things, like little trinkets. So it was just like a kind of a plot device thing, obviously, but it bothered me a little. It was like, why wouldn't anybody, like, why is there a tarp?
They let him sit there for how long?
And they threw a tarp over him. He's a flippin' hero. Like,
he's the hero of the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's like, let's just put a tarp over him. Don't look at him. It's like, oh, I did like BB-8. He was definitely an R2 though. It was very much the same. There wasn't a lot like, oh, he's very different from R2. And I think that's
the loyalty, the personality. It was pretty much all the same.
And I think you can't. It's like I was watching that Star Wars Rebel show, and they have a droid in there, but he's a little more of a jerk. Like, that's his thing. That he's a little bit more of a, like, he kind of messes with people, and he likes. It's kind of fun. But how do you make a droid that isn't lovable? If you can't understand him, because we can't, everybody else can. Which my brother was like, I think they should use subtitles. I said, yeah. The problem is they usually give him lines that, like, the character can say back to him, and then we can be like, oh, we understand what both of them are saying. Like, oh, I hope to see you again soon too. And it's like, oh, clearly they said, I hope to see you again. Yeah. But I don't know how else you make a droid, like, have a lot of personality, because you, like, oh, it, like, makes little beeps, and, like, it can kind of look down, and you can personify. It's like, oh, it was sad, it heard that news, or oh, it's really happy right now. So they were kind of that's just like a problem that they can't get around. But he was cool. I thought his design was pretty neat. He had a lot of little moments.
He was an actual robot too. Like, he wasn't CGI. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, I liked. He had, like, little cables. He had a lot of stuff built into him. He does look like a little soccer ball. I'll give him that, with a little thing on top. But he's still a pretty neat little guy. One thing again that reminds me of the beginning is that they didn't take a lot of time to get into. They were like, all right, this is Star Wars. We're going. This is like a war here. And they, like, land with all those troopers, and they all start shooting people. I'm like, that's pretty sweet. Like, and I thought at first, from that one trailer I saw, I thought that Finn was going to be a Jedi who put on a stormtrooper costume and then was, like, doing something, and, like, they were doing, like, a whole bait and switch. But then they didn't, and I was so happy. I was like, whoa, wait. They, like, bait and switch the bait and switch. And he was, like, legitimately a stormtrooper. And, like, he defected. I thought he wasn't going to do that. And I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for not doing that. Because I thought for sure I was going to be, oh, that's just the trailer screwing with us. Like, this is later on in the film. But, like, no, that's, like, in the beginning. He's having, like, problems with this. He's like, I can't do this. I can't. Which I thought was really cool. I was like, sweet. They even do, like, a nod to, like, maybe we should do a clone army. I was like, here we go. Like, they didn't really follow through with that at all. But the little nods back to prequel stuff, like, there were just a few, but I was really happy to see that. I was like, because at some point, like, Kamino's still around unless they blew it up. Did anyone ever say, like, hey, stormtroopers kind of suck? Those clone troopers were pretty amazing. Like,
and they'll listen to us. I mean,
straight up, they'll do anything for you. You say execute Order 66, done. Like, like,
yeah.
Probably should get some more clone troopers, but that's just me. I hope I have a theory, Leo. They're abducting these kids at a young age for stormtrooper stuff.
Yeah.
My hope is that they're all potential Force users, and instead of letting them go like just like kind of just mull about or maybe potentially become a Jedi, they get them at that early age and then just bring them into the fold, and they're like, oh no, you're a stormtrooper, this is what you do. Like, you never have a chance to say like, oh, maybe I should be a good guy. Like, you never have that option.
That'd be interesting.
Like, so they're kidnapping all the Force users, but they're all just stormtroopers, because like these stormtroopers seem much more competent than the other ones. Like, obviously, like one of the first stormtroopers though out of the ship, there's like a dead stormtrooper already on the ground. I'm like, all right, good, they gotta like one just gets taken out. But
well, these ones can obviously hit their targets because when they executed that entire village.
Yeah, they definitely did. I was like, oh, is he gonna shoot at one of them? And I was like, how is he gonna get out of this? But yeah, they did. They cut him down. It was pretty intense. A little bit of a quick, fast relationship, but between Finn and Poe, they kind of got through that near-death experience. And then when they met back up, they're like hugging each other, like, hey, brother, like blah blah blah. But I want to see more of Poe, and he might be in Rogue One, which is the movie that comes out next year. They're kind of ancillary things that will come out every other year as opposed to the episodes. Hopefully he'll be in there. Hopefully
Episode 8 doesn't come out for 2 years now?
Yeah, this is how Disney's going to do it, brother. They do an episode, Star Wars, and then they do Marvel films dotted throughout the year, mostly in the summer, and then they'll do like a side Star Wars film, and then they'll do more Marvel films, and then they'll do episode 8, and then they'll do more Marvel films, and then they'll do like another side episode, and they'll just keep going like that, just so they can hit all year round. And as you can see, like the nearest, I can think Doctor Strange comes out in November, and that might be the closest we get, but I think they're like calling Decembers now, kind of like Lord of the Rings style. I'll have to double check, but that would make the most sense. And in this next one, it's going to be all about X-Wing pilots, which should be pretty cool. I think they said it was going to be kind of like a heist film, but that won't have any Jedi in it. So I wonder if that still means we might get like Sith maybe, or we might get like Kylo back, or maybe it's before all this stuff in Force Awakens. Either way, I know they're doing a Han Solo film too. They're doing a solo film. But yeah, but there's one that I really want.
He was like eager to get out of it. He was eager to be done.
And I don't blame him. But it's going to be young Han Solo, so they're casting somebody different.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that's why, he died. Which I told my mom at that point. I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I knew it was coming. I was like, they've shown him too much. And someone had mentioned to me while they're like, oh, something sad happens. I was like, he's got too much screen time. He's dead, man.
Who said that to you?
Some guy on the internet. He's like, I'm not going to say anything, but something sad happens. I was like, well, something sad happens in every Star Wars film. You know what I mean? Like, someone always dies in a Star Wars film. Does that happen? Someone die in Empire Strikes Back? Oh, we think Han dies.
Yeah, you think he's dead, but I mean, you find out that one's big thing is the whole Luke's father thing.
Yeah, obviously. So there's kind of like a death of a thought, which is the big reveal. Which there was someone was saying this is kind of funny. Like, one of the best Simpsons moments ever is this huge line waiting outside the cinema for Empire Strikes Back. Homer walks out with Marge, and he's like, I can't believe that Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father. Everyone's like, shut up! Like, that's great. But I kind of knew, he's getting up there, and I think the reason he did this one is he said that he wanted to have a shot, in a weird way, at doing a 5th Indiana Jones film, which might be still far-fetched. It might not be happening. I don't know. But if they do it, it's kind of like his way. I think he's just kind of stepping back in and trying to refresh these two franchises that he's had a huge hand in and try to end on a good note, which I get as an actor. Your legacy kind of tarnished maybe a little bit by the prequels, but Indiana Jones especially, like that 4th one. Oh my gosh. Like that whole ending, like Shia LaBeouf might be the next Indiana Jones. I was like, nope.
Crystal Skull?
Yeah, Crystal Skull, it got away from him.
The fact that they were actually aliens.
Yeah. That got messed up. Fun little trivia, buddy. Check this out. Temple of Doom, actually a prequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Really?
Happens in 1935. Raiders happens in 36. And then I think it was The Last Crusade happens in 38. The reason was Spielberg said, if I'm doing a sequel for Indy, I don't want it to be all about the Nazis. So he had it start in 35 when the Nazis were like rising to power before all that. So that's why there's no Nazis. But that's the biggest problem of the film. Like, it's like some dude's in a temple, like, and he saves a village. That's it. So that, yeah, I found that out. I was looking that up the other day. So I'm like, I've always disliked Temple of Doom, and now I know why. It's like the prequel. Like, I'm like, okay. But yeah, we'll see about that. But the one I was getting to is that Ewan McGregor has expressed an interest in doing a solo Obi-Wan Kenobi film. Now, there's a few things that could go into this. I think the gut reaction might be something like, oh, maybe he could do like his time on Tatooine, but that'd be pretty boring. I think it'd be cool to see General Kenobi, or like do a throwback and be like, all right, you want to see a prequel film done right? Here it is. Obi-Wan Kenobi, the General, at his, like, the height, the zenith of his power, back during the Clone Wars. That would be amazing. It'd be like, yep, we're doing a prequel movie, and we're going to do it right. Like, we're going to do it really well. We're going to make Attack of the Clones look good by comparison. Like, we're going to have it, like, be right after Attack of the Clones. Like, that gap between there and Revenge of the Sith. Maybe even have a Hayden Christensen cameo or something. Or, like, he might be in there, you know? I don't know. That would be so cool, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if they jump back and forth too much, though, they're just going to upset people.
No, that's the thing, is because now that they're doing it every other year, I think that gives them the creative liberty of saying, like, all right, guys, we're giving you this trilogy you really want, but at the same time, and obviously making a lot of money doing it, but we can kind of jump around depending on where Rogue One falls. Does Rogue One follow right after Force Awakens? Or, you know, are these the people that stole the plans to help find where Luke was? You know, kind of thing. Like the Bothan spies, I think was the rumor that this might be like how they got the Death Star plans. So if they do that, that kind of blows it wide open for saying, all right, we can go anywhere in the Star Wars mythos in the past and be like, all right, pick a date, go for it. So I don't know, just because Ben Kenobi hanging out on Tatooine would be pretty boring. He's like, it's Luke's growing up.
It would just show him meditating, talking to Qui-Gon.
Yeah, oh, that's the other thing. Bring Liam Neeson back somehow, maybe at the very end of the movie. Like, we have Obi meditating in Tatooine. He's thinking about all this stuff in the past, and that's where the movie takes place, back in the days when he's like, I started to suspect that there's something up with Anakin. I was getting a little worried when we got the clone army and stuff. And then at the very end of the movie, have him open his eyes, and he's, you know, on Tatooine, a little bit older, but he's sitting across from Qui-Gon Jinn, who's sitting there staring at him. He's like, it's good to see you again, my old friend.
Or he says, I don't know who you are.
Just in a leather jacket. Like, he's still blue, but he's like, yeah.
But he's on the cell phone.
But he's on his... Qui-Gon, what are you saying?
I do have a very particular set of skills.
Oh my gosh. And on the other end of that phone, all you hear is, Misa gonna be the Emperor! No. I'm not giving up on this. I will not give up.
Alright, buddy. Well, Heidi just got home, so I'm probably gonna let you go.
Alright. Well, it was nice chatting with you, man.
Yeah, you too, dude. I'm glad you liked the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about it more later.
Yeah.
Alright. Peace out, brother.
Bye.
And that ends our little talk about Star Wars. But I hope you enjoyed it. And hopefully we'll do this again soon. So let us know if you liked it. And yeah, talk to you next time. Bye.